This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
The Chinese nation has its psychological peculiarities. It is classified as past-oriented, which implies supporting traditional values and behavior. In Chinese culture, religion, and social organization, settled patterns have been passed on through numerous generations. An individual has to be obedient to the tradition, even against his own accord. Another classification dimension is individualism or collectivism, which defines the rate of people's unity in actions, making decisions, and reaching goals. The Chinese people, like many Asian nations, are collectivistic, which is peculiar to socialistic societies and reflects the relation between the personality and the nation. Forcing to keep the social standards often causes much pain to a person with an alternative worldview and values. These cultural peculiarities have inspired Asian writers of all generations, from ancient times to the present. The protagonists of two outstanding stories, The Story of Stone and The Golden Age, are separated by hundreds of years. Nevertheless, they have much in common. Both characters are young and full of eagerness for life, love, and happiness. And they both experienced the pressure of social unification, which brought much misery into their destinies. Xiaobo, the protagonist of The Story of the Stone, felt dissonant with the traditions and societies since his young years. He was not understood even by his family, who considered him stubborn and spoilt. Bao has inherited a perverse, intractable nature and is eccentric and emotionally unstable. Baoyu's willingness to communicate with the people of other classes, to enjoy nature and literature, and to be with his beloved girl instead of building a career and keeping the strict traditions led him to conflict with his environment. Even after trying to fulfill the requirements of his father and getting an education, Xiaobo did not manage to adapt to the world of restrictions surrounding him. He escaped from his native places, getting the possibility to live according to his values and principles, and met the monks who sent him where he came from and explained to him the meaning of what he had experienced. To escape was his way of dealing with his desires and eagerness for freedom. In The Story of the Rose, an individual does not manage to adapt to society. It is necessary to mention that this story was written in times when social restrictions were extremely tough. However, it is interesting to compare it to the story which took place at the dawn of the cultural and sexual revolution in Chinese society. The protagonist of The Golden Age, 21-year-old Wang, also suffered much from the confrontation between his young desires and the restrictions of the then social order. This is a story about an illegal relationship between two young people who were punished by the government. It describes the feelings that overcame decades. The philosophical tone of narration and incessant irony may give rise to the impression of the protagonist's shallow feelings. One thing we do not see in The Golden Age is deep sexual obsession or the debilitating, fanatical emotions of love. However, this assertion is completely demolished by the episodes of the characters meeting after 20 years of separation. To understand each other, to laugh and frolic together after these 20 years, beyond all doubt, means to love. This is confirmed by the last episode, revealing Wang's secret and numerous expressions of the characters uniting their souls into a single substance. Wang and I were connected, just like a pair of dolphins. It is remarkable that this soul connection was the only point not described by Wang in his confessions. This is the perfect reflection of the dominance and submission situation in the society described. And the weapon chosen by Wang for this struggle is irony and philosophical contemplation. The story presented by a mature narrator is full of jocular descriptions and ironic remarks. Wang, you'll never learn how to be good. You will always be a bastard. These words said by Wang completely describe how the juvenile experience of living under pressure influenced the protagonist's vision of life. When there is too much reason to cry, the only thing to do is to laugh. The philosophical contemplation of Wang is also reflected by numerous remarks given by him to evaluate his young days. Having revised his life, Wang says, "After all, that was my golden age, even though I was considered a hooligan," and these words sound like the words of the human feeling's victory upon restrictions and pressure. Wang does not regret his destiny and keeps the memory of his young years as a treasure, and this means his complete liberation. This essay on the golden age of youth and freedom was written and submitted by a student just like you. The Ivy Panda Samples database hosts thousands of works similar to this one on various subjects. Visit ivypanda.com to find what you are looking for, free of charge.